afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? Awesome. So first of all, thank you so much for being here on a Sunday afternoon. So lovely to see kids of all ages here, even though I think this is from pre-K to fifth grade, this Ivy League Academy. And thank you to Hemal and her spouse for hosting us for this month. Chai and Just Chat is something that we started 2.5 years ago. It's a monthly program, and people have sort of accepted it as a talk show program or a TV program because it's archived and video, it's recorded, it's put on the website, it goes heavily on social media as well. We discuss topics sometimes that are not usually discussed in open. Sometimes it's a taboo topic, but we want to really, as you said, Sarah, tackle the issue at hand rather than putting it aside. And today we have wonderful panelists here with us. And sometimes I always believe experience matters. Being in the research field in my prior life, I've seen whatever research subject we put out, 10 years later we come against it. And I think the experience actually helps bring out, this is what we've seen and this is how it works and this thing doesn't work. So that's what we're going to hear a lot from our panelists today. We usually have a PowerPoint presentation with the panelists' bio, but because of the space, we didn't want to really take it away from us here. So a quick 10-second or 15-second introduction with your name and what you're doing would be great for the start this afternoon. Go ahead, Lauren.
Hi, my name is Lauren Always. I'm a Georgia pre-K teacher at the other location of Ivy League. I've got a bachelor's and master's in elementary education with a specialty in literacy. 20 years full-time in the classroom, another 5.5 or so substituting. 2 adult children of my own, so had a few years around the kids.
Thank you, Lauren. Go ahead.
My name is Tiffany Buck. I teach second grade at Bridgeway Christian Academy, and this is my 5th year teaching second grade. Before that, I taught 2 years of pre-4 and 1 year as a toddler teacher. And then I've served in children's ministry since I was about 12 years old, so been around kids for a long time. And I have a daughter that is 2 years old, or 3 years old now. It's weird to say that. But she's 3 and she attends Ivy League as well.
Very nice.
Hi, my name is Maria McConnell, and I've been in early childhood care for 20 years. 13 of those years has been with Ivy League Academy with Ms. Hemmel. I'm very proud of that, and I have 2 sons, a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I'm very grateful to be where I am and appreciative of everything. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you, Maria. Go ahead, Hemal.
I guess many of you here know me already. My name is Hemmel, and I and my husband, I guess, we founded Ivy League Academy. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree from Stony Brook, State University of New York at Stony Brook. I graduated there, I think, in 1992. Very different field, computer science, but now I am here. It's been a fascinating journey, and I'm hoping to share some of my experiences with our panel here today. Thank you.
Very nice. Katie, you all can have this one. Yes, so Katie, go ahead. Yes, hopefully. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Katie Eisner. I teach high school, so a little bit different. I'm at Lambert High School. This is my 11th year teaching mostly history. I have 3 kids, 6-year-old twins and a 3-year-old. And they, these 2 previously attended Ivy League, and the little one is still at Ivy League.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Sheetal Gaitonde. I am a clinical psychologist, and I have a private practice in Roswell, primarily doing assessments with kids, really young, like 12 months of age to about 13 years of age, and I specialize in developmental delays and autism spectrum disorders.
Very nice. Thank you. Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Guthrie, and I work for Quality Care for Children, which is a nonprofit organization. And we help schools throughout the state prepare for quality rated. And that's how I met Ivy League and Himal. I helped them through the process of becoming quality rated.
Very nice. Anu?
Hi, my name is Anuradha, and I have a beautiful 5-year-old handsome boy who just slept when I left, so I couldn't bring him. And so I work for Vendorship Inc., who's one of the sponsors for Chai and Just Chat event. I'm the associate director for the company, and I work for Nazira as well. So I'm going to be in my best behavior today.
Well, actually, if you guys want to know, the teachers have agreed that the rules can be broken this evening. Yes.
That's wonderful. And I also have my bachelor's and master's from the US. So I'm here to share my experiences bringing up a 5-year-old. Thank you.
Awesome. Dana?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Dana Van Duzer. Oh, there we go. I've been at Ivy League Academy for about 11 years now. Childcare is all I've done all my life. I don't know how to do anything else except love children. That's my passion. I have a 30-year-old daughter, and loving children is what I do.
Very nice. Thank you all for being here. And before we actually go for the real questions, we just wanted to do some warm-up questions. So Lauren, the question goes to you. If you had the opportunity to travel anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I have wanted to go to Switzerland since I was a kid, just because I thought the pictures that I saw as a kid always looked wonderful. Haven't been yet, maybe someday, but second best, I guess. I'm going to Hawaii next summer, so
Oh,
I'm
nice.
excited about that.
Very nice. Thank you. So my question to you is, if you had to give every human being one quality, what would it be and why? Tiffany.
I'm going to give the old teacher answer and say just kindness. I think kindness goes a long way, and giving a peaceful answer is, it brings peace to situations. So I think if everyone could be kind, it would just see people as valuable. It would solve a lot of our problems.
Very nice, Tiffany. So we need to connect because I think I'm aligned with you on that one. So Maria, what have you learned recently from another person?
I feel like I'm learning things every day. I've
Looking
learned,
forward,
yes, I've learned that being kind really has an effect, a positive effect on everybody. And I've had people that I don't know be kind to me, and the effect of that is tremendous. And so kindness is
Something you've learned.
something I've learned
learn every day.
every single day.
Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you. Hemal, so love marriage or arranged marriage? Confused? So wait, I have one more.
Yes.
Do you prefer confused adults or confused children? Both. You know, horse and carriage. They go together.
I guess, in the madness
If you
of
can-
this all,
if-
whether it's
Hold on, let
an
me hold.
arranged marriage or whether it
Yes.
is a love marriage, whether it is a confused child or an confused adult, I think in the madness of all of these things is somewhere where life works. And at the bottom of it all, at the root cause of it all, I think we're all trying to do the right things by our children. We're all trying to do the right things for our marriage. At least we try, okay? And I think that is where the goal and the focus is to be able to provide a happy environment, is to keep a positive outlook, and to be able to get through our difficulties. Whatever, every person has their own challenge, which is different from the other. But to be able to find the root somewhere in between is, I think, the way to go.
Awesome. Thank you for the answer. So, Katie, if I, yes, so you all will use this mic and they can use that mic. Okay, Katie. So, if I gave, or not me, hypothetically, if I gave you $10,000, what would you do with it?
I would travel. I save up all of my money, and everything extra that I have, I always go on a trip. So that's important to me, is experiences with the family, going somewhere. So I would take it anywhere.
What was the last trip that you took?
Oh, we went to Disney World
Oh,
for
cool.
Thanksgiving.
Nice.
So that was really awesome.
Are you giving a hint message, so instead of buying something, buying like a material, buy
Yes.
memories?
And I feel like that's been all over social media this holiday season, is your kids that aren't going to remember the Barbie that they opened. They're going to remember where you went and the experiences that you had. So
Very
that's
nice.
important
Awesome.
to us.
Sheetal, what is your favorite time of day and why?
You're going to ask.
She's
This
gonna say
is my
bed-
secret.
Bedtime.
Now you're going to make me say it.
Okay, go ahead.
My daughter always makes fun of this, but I take a nap in my office at about like 1 o'clock. Somehow, for some reason, I don't have any patients from 1 to 2, and so I get to take a nap for 15 minutes, and that's a perfect time because nobody's watching me. I am there, and that's a power nap for me.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So you know why we started this event at 3, right?
Yes, I've already had that nap. Wherever I am, I can also take a nap in my car. Park it somewhere and take a nap.
Very nice. Thank you. So Mary, what are 2 things you like about yourself? If you want to hold the mic, yeah.
I like the job that I do, working with children and teachers, and I like that I'm joyful.
Very nice. So thank you. Anu, what is the most important thing a mother can give to her children, and what is the most important thing a father can give to his children?
I think for both mom and dad, it's the time. The children need the time. So however busy they are with their lives, they will remember the time they spent with mom and dad. So I'm going to say the same answer for both of them.
Very nice. Maria, apart from your smile, what is the uniqueness about you?
Oh, Dana.
Dana. Maria, Dana. So, yeah, Dana. Apart from your smile, what is the unique thing about you, Dana? I got that right almost all the time, Dana, right?
That's right. You
Yeah.
did good.
Awesome.
I don't know. Say it one more.
What is unique about you?
Oh, unique. The fact that I take care of children and love them and give them a good education, a good start to life is important, because starting out young is where they get their foundation for the rest of their life.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And I see that's what I see across the board today, just your passion to serve the kids. Even though each of us have our own talents, I don't have the patience to deal with kids. So that's why we leave them to you, to you all. But the coming to the content of the topic today is about early childhood development and education and policy and well-being. Somehow I think most of us are aware the first 10 years or the first 5 years, a critical point of child's brain's development, and how what happens in life impacts them. And the best thing as parents we could do is probably the education and the skill training, the language skill development for them during that time. My first question is for Mary Guthrie, is about, so high quality early childhood. Of course, we're going to talk about what it means to be quality rated, Mary, but we see across the states, US, several policies, several things going on, but according to you and your experience, what are the basic essential elements needed for a high quality early education system?
Well, what I do is I work with schools across northwest Georgia, and I help them to improve the quality of the services that they provide in hopes of better outcomes for children. So what is necessary, what I feel is necessary for high-quality early childhood education. It's kind of twofold. One, we need to have people like the teachers who are here who work in early childhood education, who really value children as human beings. Language is very important. The more we talk to children, the better their brains click when they're little, and the social emotional part of early childhood education is very important.
How is Georgia ranked? This wasn't it just comes out sometimes, and you're welcome to chime into each other's questions as well, because you might add value to the answer as well. How is Georgia rated across the nation? In the
For early childhood
education, are we there? We beyond there, or we are yet to get there?
Well, I don't know if there's anybody who has rated all of the states. However, I will say that the state of Georgia has placed a great emphasis and made a big commitment to early childhood education through the Department of Early Care and Learning, DCAL, which is the acronym, and they have linked quality rated with DCAL now. So programs that receive child care subsidies are now required, or by the end of this year will be required to be quality rated in order to continue providing services to the state's most needy children.
Okay, very nice, thank you. So Hemal, my next question is for you. It was interesting to hear, actually your background is in computer science, but you've taken this up. Apart from it being a business venture, I'm sure for people to continue with the business again and again, and for not to give up, is because of there's something committed to what they're doing. So why and what do you have to tell other pre-care centers? So how are you going to share your success stories? I know most of these success stories is what becomes best practices in the Georgia state, but do you all get a channel or a pathway to share success stories, or do you get to be at the table where success stories are shared? Because you're just one among the thousands that exist in Georgia, but you might find something.
What DCAL does, they do provide us platforms for us to be able to share our stories. For example, I think Mary knows this. We have ambassadors that are chosen by DCAL, and then we are able to go there and provide a platform and tell them how it is that we were able to become successful and how it is to see a project through fruition. And that is very important. And I think the true success honestly comes by, there's no way of getting around it. You have to be involved in it. You have to love what you do. You have to have a team that is equally involved in in reaching that goal point. And I was very lucky because I had that team with me, and each one member. And I think that is the best advice. If somebody out there is watching, is what I would do, is to provide for a team. That is the key word. To work as a team, to get it done as a team, because I cannot I cannot take the success on myself. It is because of the team. It's because everybody put their bit into it, which is work. And yes, DCAL does provide a lot of opportunities to go out there, and they have monthly meetings where you can go and you can actually share your story and let them know how it is that you were able to reach that goal.
Do you participate in person, or do you have an ambassador for your school, for Ivy League?
Person.
Okay, you have an ambassador who attends these meetings
yes.
and brings
Yes.
that's good to know. So thank you so much, Hemal. Katie, so I'm past the stage of looking for school now. Like I've gone, kids are in middle school. So, but I remember the stage where the fear and anxiety of choosing a school. I'm sure most of you have gone through with children, and then you think you found the right one, and then within 3 months you realize, oh my gosh, what's happening, and then you take them out, and then that anxiety. So what's the best way for parents or would-be parents or new parents who are looking for such to reduce their anxiety and fear and the unknown, where to start? And also please include the part where parents are also looking for schools for their special needs children, because I want our topic to include special needs integrated into anything we say today.
Yes, I think that's the most important thing in looking for a school, is to know that the experiences of one friend or one person isn't going to be maybe your experience. So a lot of times we're out there looking for recommendations, and recommendations are awesome, but I think you really have to dive in and do a little bit more research yourself, because it's all about the teachers and that quality rated care, because there is a difference in schools that might employ college students or not fully certified ones with those more experience and certifications. So doing the research yourself and kind of knowing what's important to you. And so I think the best advice, like my best friend gave me, because we enrolled in a early preschool, at 2 years old, and then quickly found out having twins, it was the perfect school for one child, but it wasn't a good fit for the other. And then it was, so, what do you do and where do you go from there? And so my friend said, tour around, and when you find the one, you're going to feel, there's going to be a feeling there, and it's just going to feel right, and it's going to feel like home. And so we toured, and then there was the one. It was like, okay, this is home. You can tell that they care. And so I think researching the teachers that are employed, because that's what's really, one thing with Ivy League, when we go in, everybody has been there for so many years. I think that tells you a lot, because they love what they do. They're successful at what they're doing. There's not a lot of turnover. So just kind of digging into that, recommendations are also, helpful too, but kind of making sure that the teachers have expertise and certification, because not all children are the same. And, one teacher can make the world of a difference for your 3, 4, 5-year-old. It's huge.
Very nice, thank you. And is the same recommendation for children with special needs? Or
I think it's more important because, there's a growing population of special needs and students on the spectrum. And, for us, we didn't know that one of our kids were special needs, and it was such a negative experience because those teachers didn't have the experience to say, hey, there's something going on here. It was just, you're getting in trouble. But then finding the teachers that say, hey, I know what's going on, and we're going to have a positive experience, and now we're super successful in kindergarten. So.
Awesome.
Yes. Can I add?
Yes, please do.
So I really agree with that second point that you made. A lot of times parents ask me, can I share the diagnosis of my kid with teachers? And I'm like, yes, because if you might run into a risk of getting labeled. Your child can be labeled as a child who has disruptive behavior or an oppositional child. But parents are a little nervous about just the label of autism spectrum or any kind of developmental delay, but actually what it adds on to for the teachers is they can make those modifications. If they don't know, if they're not prepared, they'll tell you that. And then that may not be the right place for your child. And so it is really important for you to disclose that to the teachers and for the environment that your child is going to be in.
I'll add on to that. And I'll just say, don't be afraid to tell the teacher the truth about your child, because they're going to want to know, and rather than, because they might think it's just behavior or discipline, and so don't be scared or embarrassed that, that your child, something's going on, because that makes a world of a difference.
Very nice. So Maria, sometimes I feel like I've said it before, that people with experience can actually advocate for and educate the researchers, because you have much more than what others are, because they're still in the stage of researching. But tell me, based on your experience with the early care education system, is the American system under-resourced? in what it can offer. And I'm not just talking about this school, but probably based on your experience over all these years, meeting with other school teachers, other parents as well. Do you think the American early child care education can do more? With this, where I'm getting to is, do you think there is a political will to do more, and is it on the table or is it on the back burner?
I do. I think that
If you can just hold this.
yeah, there's more can be done.
And I would like to know, like, what more, so how can we
Well,
help in...
In my experience with young children, when they parents are a lot of times this is their first experience with leaving their child, and a lot of them don't share a lot of information with the teachers, and you know, it's a hard time for a child to be left for the first time, and it could be very frustrating for the child. They want to know, for instance, oh, when are they going to stop crying? You know, why they cry so much, and all of this thing. And I think having your children, even at a very early age, engage and play with other children and bring them out, let them have experiences. Don't keep them at home all the time. Read to them, bring them to the library, do the most you can possibly do, play dates, so that they're not scared the first time being left, you know, in a strange place with all people they don't know, and it's hard for the children, and it's also hard for the parents leaving the child, like, you know, in that position. And for us teachers, the more we know about your child, whether they're, you know, very young or whatever age it is, the more we know, the more that is shared with us, the better we can help that child. And we're there to teach, but we're also there to help the parent and to help the child and love them. So that's what I would say.
Awesome,
Yes.
thank you. And it makes a world of change when educators like you assist or help to get to where we need to be. So thank you. Anu, the next question is for you. So there is already increased awareness about the importance of early childhood development and the preschool. How important is the family engagement, and is the same equal engagement of the parents as well as the teachers vital to the early childhood development?
Absolutely. As I already mentioned, the initial question that she asked, mom and dad, the time that we spend with the children is very, very important, especially for the 1 to 10 years. All they need is the attention. So I just went ahead and read a couple of articles on this, and it says that through the years from 2000 to 2016, that time and attention is increased. That made me so happy. I mean, the percentage of people that take their children to the library has increased to 41% from 2000 to 2016, which means the family is cooperating with what the children need, and they are able to spend time. And even these days, the job level, everybody at the job is cooperative when it comes to they identify kids on the spectrum. They need more time from their family. So it's a support from one another. And also, I read somewhere that people who read stories to the children, that is increased as well. So these small statistical information is so happy to hear that people are spending more time with their children, and family time is something that is very, very, very crucial, especially for the 1 to 10. Not just mom and dad, the extended family. It could be grandparents. I mean, my son felt he was in cloud nine when he saw his grandparents, and when they left, he had tears in his eyes. He didn't want them to go back, you know. So he felt the connection between them. So the extended family and all of that, the children really need that support, I believe. And the next thing is the teachers. A good committed teacher is very important. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers and educators that are here. And I also read that there is a lot of teachers that are going for higher education, you know, recently compared to 2000. And now PhDs and MBAs, and in education, there is an increase in that percentage, which means they're committed in knowing more. And this has reduced the dropout ratio in school. So these are some of the information I really felt happy about sharing here as well.
Thank you, Anu. So Lauren, the next question is for you. So just give it as it is, the truth, what works and what doesn't work in early education. And you can be as honest as us. We're all parents here. But before that, I wanted to tell Maria, you just gave another reason for my daughter who's 12 about play dates. But she doesn't know we were talking about 1 to 10-year-old. She's going to ask for a lot of more play dates now. So, Lauren, coming back to you, tell us what should we focus where should we focus our efforts for the greatest need in the early childhood development as parents, as family, as educators, as the decision makers who are on the table providing funding, approving the funding for schools and the quality care institution as well. What is working and what is not working?
That's kind of a broad question. I think in Georgia we're lucky to have the Georgia Pre-K, and I'm going to speak from that since
Yes,
that's what I'm
please
doing
do.
right now. Not every state has state-funded Pre-K, so we're very lucky with that. And having the standards that we have, most parents don't even know that there are so many standards for Pre-K children. I mean, we're assessing for over 70 quality standards for them, and they are developmentally appropriate. So many parents come in and at 4 they want their children adding and subtracting and multiplying and reading chapter books, and that's just not appropriate for 4-year-olds.
So
We're
is
more
that-
into their social skills and getting along, and so working on those kinds of things. It was funny. We have state required trainings, and this week we had a 2-day training, and one of the studies one of the instructors brought up was that preschool children with quality preschool start out ahead of their peers that have not had quality pre-K, but they equal out about 3rd or 4th grade.
Wow.
And as they become adults, they earn more money, there are less incarcerations, there were all these other things. And it stuck with me, and yesterday on NPR, I heard the same study mentioned. So they haven't figured out why it is, because they do equal out in the middle in school, but as adults, this quality early childhood care makes a big difference.
I'm just curious, why aren't there states that exist that don't have pre-K funding, so that there's no idea why, or it's just that not much advocacy
That
probably.
part of the way they get the lottery through some states is to promise it to education. A lot of people still are opposed to lotteries.
How do you deal with parents who want their children to be a math whiz kid by 4 years old?
We can tell them they get there. I'd much rather
I'm
go
not
back
one
to
of them, I'll tell you that.
Go back to
like,
the
no.
kindness that's been mentioned. I'd much rather they're kind and they aren't biting or hitting or, hurting their friends, and they can sit down and listen and be patient. Those are life skills too, and they need to be able to do that first.
So even if you ask me now, 2 + 2, I would say 5.
But I've got a song I can teach you.
I'm ready. Go ahead, Hema.
No, what I wanted to add with this thing is, gosh, I lost my train of thought. When it, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we're talking about the early education, why in some states they haven't
Yes.
implemented it.
I think mostly it probably, that is my guess, don't hold me onto it, but I think it's probably something to do with a political decision. But the way politics is set up in different states is different. So that's probably the reason. But without getting into that, what happens when a parent comes in and, we've had that. We've had parents who've come in and they said, my child already knows how to write their ABCs. They already can write words and sound it out and they know the time. So what are you going to do for my child? Because Georgia Pre-K doesn't even let you do some of these things. So essentially the answer to that is to probably let parents know that Georgia Pre-K has, like she mentioned, we have indicators in different fields. So while you think your child is an expert in academics, there is a big piece, another piece that is very important, which is the social piece, which is the science piece, which is the math piece. So what we're doing, and the way I love Georgia Pre-K because they are structured in a way that math is present, science is present, and the kids don't know it. The kids don't necessarily know that this is math or science. They do probably, but to a certain extent. But many of these parents, when they come in, at least in my experience with my teachers, I've seen that they do not fall short of their expectations. We do not fall short of their expectations, rather, because we still challenge them. There is something called small groups that we do every day where the teacher sits down one-on-one with the child. So that is a piece that does happen on an everyday basis for every single child in Georgia Pre-K. So what we do is we add on a few more things, such as typically what we've noticed is, and this is just a broad answer, not to single out any particular child, but we've always seen that a child who generally excels in academics usually falls short of some social skills. And that is fine, and they learn it because they're good kids, but they need to be exposed to that environment because it's so important to have that piece as well. So we try to bring an overall rounded experience for every child in Georgia Pre-K. So yeah.
Very nice. Yes, go ahead, Katie.
Being a high school teacher and being in the high stakes testing, I teach AP classes. And we know that there's testing, and it's always, do you teach the test? And that's always the question that comes up, and it goes with that. I think if you teach these foundations of learning and problem solving and getting along with others, it makes learning the rest of that stuff so much easier. So that's kind of just even as they get older that we're focusing on. So I think I totally agree with the pre-K of let's practice the social skills and learn how to overcome when somebody pushes you down rather than math. Like you'll learn math early or later and easier if you learn those other things first.
Very nice. Go ahead, Sheetal.
Can I also add? So I think the social skills that you guys are talking about, and I usually encounter this with the parents that I see, is they're talking about, we usually have our friends and we do expose our kids to our friends. So, why do we need that social piece? But actually, social piece is much broader than just having friends. Social piece is to please the teacher, and so follow the rules. Follow the rules in the classroom. That's a social skill. Or if there is another child, I'm not going to be in his space. That's a social skill. And those are the social skills that are really required very young, because when they come into first grade, second grade, schools are not going to tolerate that. And that's going to be the child who has behavioral problems. And so we need to start very young. In fact, I would say 18 months. That's when they do start understanding the receptive language of these kids. If they're understanding one-step instructions, they are going to be able to understand consequences to a behavior. If you are going to throw, hit, or harm others, you are going to get a timeout. That's something that they start learning right from 18 months of age.
Very nice. Thank you. Dana, so how important is teacher training to improve the teacher's understanding of what is up to trend, what are the best practices that are out there? But also the other question is, how do you deal with kids who say they don't want to eat peas or broccoli? I have one, so I still have one, yeah.
Two very good questions. The first question about training, I think all teachers across the board, no matter what age classroom you have, training is the most important thing because that's where you're going to get your knowledge. Knowledge is a big part of teaching. If you don't get your knowledge, you won't be able to expand with your children the things that are involved in what you're learning. As far as peas and carrots go, broccoli too. I gotta say, for my age group, I do 2-year-olds, and all of my children try the vegetables. I have a way with them.
Can you teach us that? Or is it too late now?
Well, what I do is, for instance, let's go with mixed veggies. When we're served mixed veggies, they look at it. They used to look at it like, oh, okay. But they're only 2 now, remember. I have 2 to 3, so they're young. So what I do, I play a game with the lunch, not knowing that they're playing with the peas and carrots. I'll say, okay, everybody, let's eat an orange veggie. And everybody will pick up a carrot, a diced carrot. And I'll see that everybody does that. And then I'll go on to the next veggie. Okay, everybody get a green veggie. So not only am I getting them to eat their veggies, now I'm also teaching them colors at the same time. So it's also a learning experience. So they're getting their nutrition and they're learning at the same time, which is a very valuable thing.
And I will chime in that my youngest had Miss Dana last year, and he eats all of his veggies. He is the best eater out of all of them, so it works.
Very good, very good.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a skill that many parents somehow don't have, and probably
Yes.
should teach a class for parents as well.
Right, and
About
see,
not pushing math and how to put veggies
see,
in
they
their
don't
mouth.
teach this in training. It's something that you gain with experience, and because this is all I've done, I've learned how to teach children in a way that they will understand, and that's the easiest form for them, because I have, like I said, 2 to 3 year olds, and that is a very difficult age. There's no concept of sharing. Everything is mine. So you have to learn that too. But all of the training that Ms. Hemmel has us do with Bright from the Start is very valuable in all of our educations as teachers.
Sure. Thank
Can
you.
I add
Yes,
something?
please do, Mary.
I wanted to say, and this is specifically about Dana and eating. If you go into Dana's classroom at mealtime, you'll find that it's almost like being at home. It's a very relaxed atmosphere, and I think that that's important for all sorts of things, but particularly, you know, the children want to be part of the family meal, and she includes, and I'll add one more thing about math and daily events. That the teachers at Ivy League do so beautifully, beginning with the infants. There is math in the daily events, and the teachers will talk about what's going to happen first, second, and third, so we're getting that ordinal numbers. They will do one-to-one correspondence when they're counting children to take them out to the playground by touching 1, 2, 3. First, we're going to do this. Second, we're going to do this. Third, we're going to do this. We're going to have, 2 scoops of sand equals 1 cup. So all of these things that they don't, that's not sitting down and doing a math worksheet. It's much more experiential, and it's from the hand to the mind.
Very nice. So do we all agree that Dana here teaches our kids not just book smart, but also how to be street smart? Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what we need. So, yes.
The other thing that most of our teachers in Ivy League do is we mimic, when we're talking about food, we mimic good food eating habits. While the children are eating, I have often seen many of our teachers, they're eating a salad too. She has a salad there. So that, when the children see what the teachers are eating, they know that this is, hey, it's not too bad. And believe it or not, after a little while, the kids actually start liking it.
Yeah.
They like it. So it's only getting them past that point of, trying it. So once they try it, and then a couple of times, and then they love it. So it's a question of getting them there, and they're good at that. So, and I have, there was a teacher at Ivy League, and she's not here anymore, but it was so funny. She would actually say, she would have the kids sit down on the table, and they're eating their veggies, and she'd say, oh my gosh, I ate a carrot, look at me, and it's all drama. And she'd say, I can see the chart now. And the kids would say, she'd say, quick, eat your carrots and see if you can see better. And they'd look at it and they'd say, oh, I can see better because of the carrot.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
You know, so little things like that I think really go a long way in setting habits for the long run. And I think that's what we're looking to do, is to develop those habits. And Lauren was talking about how they initially do really well, and then they even out. Evening out, I think, is a process of growing. And I think what is set in their base, the reason probably why they do so much better when they grow up later is because it's in you. What in this age, the first 10 years, whatever we teach our children is internalized. It becomes a way of life. And that is very important, because even children in our own homes, what we do in our own homes gets internalized. And sure, when they're 14, they will rebel against you, but then they come back, right? She's looking at me, my daughter, she's 14. But that is the age too, you know, that's the age 2 question. That's the age to find yourself, and they're finding themselves. But then, you know, you come back, and then you're still on, you come back to your roots, so to say.
Sure.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I go to questions to Dr. Sheetal and Tiffany, so I have one child who's in TAG already, and the other one is, I've been trying to get her on TAG for 3 years, isn't happening, and the response I get is, Mom, TAG is so boring. All my friends are having a good time outside of TAG. So, but I don't have a problem with that, because when I have parents saying my kid isn't tagged, and actually my kid isn't, and then I say, well, she has a gang of 7 from past 4 years of friends. So, you know, I see that the social skills for that child is much higher than just into the education. So, Dr. Sheetal, coming to the first 5 years are really a window of opportunity. If you can tell us, as a clinical psychologist, you are seeing parents, and then you're also speaking with the children, because we just want to know what you actually do on an everyday basis. And how do children actually learn about emotions, and how do they shape their own development apart from what they see in school or at home?
So I'll start with that first question, what I do in my practice. So I have 2 parts to my practice. One is evaluations, and then the second one is therapy. So evaluations is usually when a teacher, pediatrician is concerned about a child, or even parents, if you guys are concerned about your child, about any kind of development, they come to me and say, okay, this is what has been going on. We don't know. I mean, is this a problem, or is this something that I'm just a worry mom? And so then I do evaluation, meaning look at how the child is developing in comparison to other kids that child's age, in terms of cognitive, there is social emotional, language. I sometimes go to schools and do observation to see how the child looks in that setting, because when they come see me, they want to please me, and they're perfect. And I'm like, okay, so why are you here? Usually that's the evaluation piece. And then we talk about, okay, so this child might have a diagnosis, this child might not have a diagnosis, or, and then come up with like recommendations for what to do from there if there is a diagnosis, or even if there is not a diagnosis, if the parent just wants to work on certain skills, then they can do that too. The second piece is the therapy, where I usually see kids with a variety of problems. Some things that I've seen in my practice increase have been anxiety. A lot of anxiety in this population. Young kids, starting with separation anxiety. There's also selective mutism, which is some kids talk only at home, and they don't talk in public settings. They might have talked to one person, but not all the other people in the family, or again, there is autism spectrum disorders as well. So when I do therapy, I meet with these kids individually, and then I also meet with parents and talk about on maybe a weekly basis is what we meet. And then we talk about certain specific goals. So if a goal is emotional regulation, to teach the child that, then we start with that. So that goes back to your question about how do these kids develop emotions. If you think about a baby, when a baby starts crying, you guys soothe the baby. That's emotional regulation. And that's how each time the baby is soothed, they know that, okay, there is this cause and effect going on. And so when the baby is around 12, 15 months, that's when they, again, like they keep crying to get your attention, right? But eventually they're able to soothe themselves up. And by 18 months, usually they're able to talk and say how they're feeling, or if they want something, they can get it. So language is the piece that comes in, which is again related to emotions. So if a child is not developing language, then there is going to be an emotional regulation difficulty related to that. And so that's the reason language and social emotional piece is so important for the emotional regulation. Another thing that goes into the emotional regulation is executive functioning skills, which is development of just in general like planning or planning ahead, and then also initiating a task, organizing the entire task, and it comes through play, it comes through school, like the preschool setting, it comes in everyday activities. So emotions are learned through, it's a learned behavior. So you're gonna learn it from your parents, you're gonna learn it from your teachers, your peers, and you're gonna learn it from lots of different opportunities that you guys are going to put your child through.
So let me ask this question that's sometimes on most of the parents' mind who come from, who speak 2 or 3 languages at home. Which one, so do you say teach your language, but of course English has to be, because we are in America, that's one of the main language. Do you say teach your language along with English, or which one, which is the option that you provide is the best one?
Yeah, so I get this a lot. So just to give a little bit of primer on language development, what happens with kids from bilingual households is you start out with a foundation language. So it could be the language that you're starting to talk with the child. So if it is, say for example, if it is Hindi, that language is going to be the foundation. And once that child goes into like a preschool setting, there is another language that comes in, so the English comes in. And so this child starts out with the foundation of Hindi, and once English is put in, usually, typically developing kids are able to take that language and just be fine. And there is research suggesting that these kids do just as well as just monolingual kids, but actually when they are 7 or 8, they actually surpass kids who are monolingual. And so it's a great thing if you're bilingual. Just keep talking to the child in your language, and they're going to pick up English. But if the child has a language delay, that's when you want to think about this child is being exposed to my language at home, and is this child all getting my language? Is this child developing Hindi strong? Like, are the sentences, like, is this kid saying these sentences right? And if there is a problem even with that, they're going to have a problem with the development of English language. And so then you go into maybe there is a language issue going on. And so you want to go and get that evaluation for that child. The third thing is, if there is, say your child is diagnosed with autism, and then you have 2 languages, and this child is having trouble learning English. For those kids, there is just very recent research that has come out, and we're telling parents to keep on talking their own language, just because when you speak another language, Hindi, or another language meaning if you're a native, like a Hindi speaker, and then you start speaking in English with your child, there is a lot of emotions that are lost. And so for kids with autism spectrum, the intonation or the emotions that go into that language are so important. And so that's why we are telling parents that initially it might be a little harder for you or for the child to develop that English language, but at home, just keep on talking with them in your language that you're comfortable with.
Okay, great, thank you. So Tiffany, we saved the best for the last. So tell us about the US policies that is either investing in early childhood education or any intervention that helps improve the early childhood education system. So for example, probably in 1990s, early 1990s, family paid leave was implemented, was passed into bill, and because of that I've benefited. I was able to stay with my kids during my after they were born. But so such policies help. Can they be improved further? Is there a stable now, or more policies can be brought on? From your experience, what you see is, oh my gosh, I wish this could happen. What is that wish?
For me, I think that certain policies are really good when things aren't happening or for in areas that are not motivated to make things happen. But I also think it's really great that here we have choice in a lot of the things that we do. So like for us, we got to choose where our daughter went to daycare. As parents, you get to choose public school or private school, and I think a lot of times we have to be careful of how much we rely on the government to make our choices, because then we lose our choice. So I think that a lot of policies are good in getting quality care, but at the same time, having them decide like certain things for us could be detrimental, so like in having family leave, I think that's awesome. I got family leave as well. It wasn't paid. I went on short-term disability, so I was paid like 70% of my paycheck. But at the same time, like I chose to have our daughter. My work did not say you're having a daughter, like it wasn't their choice. I work for a private school as well, and Ms. Hemmel, you might be able to speak on this a little bit too. I feel like on their side of things, if they were to pay for all of my leave and a sub, that could be really, like I said, detrimental for them. Like that could be a really hard hit for them. So I'm one of those people where I don't think that the government should pay for all of my needs, because a lot of them are my choices, and there's people working really hard to provide great daycares and great schools that are different choices and options. And if they were made to provide certain amounts of money for our leave, then we may not have those quality places anymore. They may have to like shut down having to pay for all of that. But I do think there could be some more regulations on like providing some kind of, I looked it up because I don't have a lot of experience in that. When I saw that was going to be my question, I was like, I'm really torn on this, because at the same time where it would be nice to have a full salary while on leave, I can also see the other side of it, and hardworking people and small businesses, it would be really hard for them to have a law placed on them telling them they have to provide someone's salary and another salary to fill in their place. So I can see that as well, and I love working for the school where I chose to work. So I would hate to see that happen to them. But maybe more regulation on, like, I think it's really important for husbands or the dads to be home with babies. My husband only got 3 days off and he had to use personal time. So even in my recovery, it would have been really nice to have him there a little longer. But I can see too how they couldn't really pay for him to be gone that long. So I do appreciate that they give paid time off that he could save up and take. And, you know, when we found out we were going to have a baby, we were like, we have 9 months to save up because we know this is going to happen. So I think just taking more responsibility in our choices too. I know, I'm kind of talking in circles because I'm still processing all of that as
Right.
well. You know, I think it's in the law that they have to save your place for 12 weeks. They can't give your job to someone else. So I think regulations like that, so you're not scared to have children. They're wonderful. They're a blessing. So you're not scared, but also it's not making your choice for you or an employer's choice.
Right. So yes. So yes, you're right. So it's so good to listen from the school's perspective. I think the Family Medical Leave Act also acts such as when I was in the Emory and at Emory University, I was able to use the sick leave.
Right.
So that is how it is done. So I'm sure there is a system that works for the school system as well, for the reason that I think, if I'm not mistaken, research shows that the time when you spend after the baby is born, the main bonding time also has some developmental association.
Right, yeah, to the attachment, yes.
Okay, sounds good. So
Right, yeah, and
that's good. Yes.
I agree with that because I think what I was going to add earlier is that teaching second grade, I see a lot of anxiety in children, and by the time they get to second grade, I've seen so many kids where I just tell them, you know, that wasn't the correct answer, let's try again, and they just break down crying. They cannot stand that they got something wrong. It's a lot of pressure on them. So I think even pushing them to learn early math skills or like pushing them, I have a girl right now that she claims that she already knows all her multiplication facts, and you know, we're only halfway through second grade, and I always tell her, I'm like, you may know the facts, you may have memorized them, but do you know like how you got those answers? Because now it's just like, if you don't know this fact, you got it wrong, try again. And it's like there's so much pressure on them to be perfect at such a young age, where I think it's really hard. And a lot of that comes from too, like not being with their parents and getting that validation from them and just feeling loved and that they're enough whether they get an answer right or not. So I do think and I think it's good to have a lot of time with your children. I try to get as much time with my daughter as I can. I work full time, but it's not so much even the quantity of time, but it's the quality of what I'm doing with her. Because there's a lot of like mom guilt of working and not being with your children. And I look at moms that are with their children all day. But I feel like a lot of times I put in the quality with my daughter, and she's in good care during the day as well. But just getting to her to like talk, like I could be home with her all day and feel like I didn't talk to her at all. Or I can be with her for a few hours at night and feel like I really filled her tank up, that she is feeling valued. And so at those young ages too, like I think I got 8 weeks off. And I asked for 2 more, and my work was so gracious to let me do that. So I see the value in time as well. I wasn't ready to leave her either.
Right.
So I do think it's really important for their development. But I don't know. It's hard because you want that time, but at the same time, like, your work goes on as well.
Exactly. So
I'd
Hema.
like to actually add a little bit of this, where we talk about the employers part. I mean, these days time is really changing, and these days there are a lot of employers who respect when moms go for maternity break. They respect that time, and even paternity break. My husband actually got 3 weeks of leave, and then his boss's boss said, "That's not enough for you. go for, they just gave him 1.5 months. That I felt so relieved during that time. When he's there to support me. So the times are really changing, and employers are really appreciative of the fact that there is a mom come back program in many companies, organizations. My boss always says family first. So that's the importance people give for the child's upbringing, and I think we're doing a wonderful job in that space as well, the employers.
Go ahead, Hemal, you had something to say.
Well, I actually wanted to second what she said, which is it's very important for parents to have that choice, to see what works best for their child, because every parent is doing one-on-one with their child. Sometimes a public school system works for a child. Sometimes a private school system is more appropriate for your child. Sometimes your child has a special needs. They need a different program. They need an IEP. So it's very, very important. And parents are always the best advocates for their children. Best advocates. Nobody else can make decisions for your child. No school person, no school board. It is because parents generally know their children so well that they are able to gauge, and their gut will tell them which way to go. And that is very important, and I think, and as me being an employer, I can tell you that I want to do the best. It is in my interest to keep my employees. It is in my interest to keep it happy. If I can, I will do it, because that works best for all of us. Because no employer wants a environment that is not a happy environment. We want it all to be happy. We want all of us to benefit from it. Employers and employees, everybody together. So that is one thing. The other thing which is very important, and I'm telling you this from my own heart, and this is my personal feeling, that as a parent, the two things that you can give your child is self-worth and education. Those are the two very important things that you can give your child. If you have not taught your child that they are important and to value themselves, then even education comes second to that. Self-worth is very important. And I think in Ivy League, that's what we do. And we try to make sure that our children feel good about themselves. They have a place. They have a say. They have a mouth. They have a voice. Voice them. You can have your opinion, and it's okay. At the dinner table, I often have conversations with my children. And my 14-year-old doesn't always agree with what I say, and that's fine. And we have learned that, even she knows, that, Mommy, I can have a different opinion than you, but we're still friends. We're still mom and daughter. It's okay. And that is something that we need to be able to instill in our children, because our children can be different from us. And they can still be, because we want them to be the best of who they are, not what we want them to be. And that is, I think, a lot of trap that many of these parents fall into, and especially, certain communities, where it's very important where the mom says, oh, my child has gotten 85. How much did your child get? And it's literally as direct as that. And where you might have a child that might excel in academics, so you might be the parent of a child that gets 90 plus and is in 4 AP classes. And it's very important for parents to see that. But then you might have another child who's a born entrepreneur, who is a born artist, and who can be successful just as much. But that is a realization that comes in time, and this puts a lot of pressure on the children. Somebody talked about a child who literally cried because they were not able to do that math problem right. It's because of the pressure that comes from home. And they bring that there. And this is the awareness that one needs to give to a community. That is why we're here. That is why I want to say this to our community, is that we all need to have expectations for our children, but the expectations have to come to be the best of who they are, not who we want them to be, or not because we have to go and tell our neighbor, oh, my child has gotten admission into Stanford. You understand what I'm saying? So this is a trap that many of the parents fall into. and it becomes a super competitive environment for the children to thrive in. And then it becomes, oh, are they doing, oh, your child gets 95 in this? Are they doing violin? And are they doing something else as well? So, then you start competing at a different level. So those are things that in the first 10 years of the life itself, it gets shaped. And
very nice. Thank you, Hema. Did you want to?
Yeah, I just want to point out. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, two things. One, just making note of what's successful for one child is a totally different level of success for another child. Like, for example, if my girl twin comes home and she got on yellow for a day, like she is devastated, like she's never been in trouble, like she is just. But if Parker doesn't get on red one day, we are celebrating. It is the best day ever. So it's just that level of success and to let them feel. But I wanted to go back to where you talked about having the opinions at the dinner table. From teaching the higher level, like the high school students, please let them have opinions, because it's very obvious when they come to the classroom with these like regurgitated ideas that aren't their own, and they can't form thoughts on their own. And I feel like that really holds them back with the problem-solving skills, and it gives those anxiety, because when somebody challenges them to answer a question, they have to think. That's what's very hard. So I think if we can start at a young age, like, tell me what you think, not what I think. I want to know what you think. I think that'll take them a long way.
Very nice. Go ahead, Dana.
Well, one more thing with what we've all been talking about here. I think it's really important as teachers and parents to treat every child as an individual. You have to treat your child as an individual. Your child is not the same as your neighbor's child or as the child they sit next to in school. They are their own person, and they need to be raised that way. I think that's very important.
You summed it up very well for the conversation so far. Thank you so much, Dina. So, Mary.
Go ahead. So, Mary, let me tell us what quality. I know you touched on it earlier, but what are the elements that's involved in getting an institution quality rated, and why is it, like, what should family look for in early learning center for their children?
Okay. Quality rated is a program that the state has adopted, and throughout the country there are close to 40 states that have similar programs where it's similar to an accreditation like NACE or SACS, Advanced Ed, but it's through the state, and it is to evaluate the level of quality of a program and communicate that to people who are interested in knowing what the quality is. It's a voluntary program, and I worked with Ivy League to go through the program, and it was a joy to work with quality or to work with Ivy League. I've worked with schools all throughout 3 regions of the state. Some schools aren't as joyful to help. I'll have to be honest. But so
You're being recorded.
Uh-oh. No, they're all joyful, but no, it was just such an easy process, and I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but one of the reasons that it was so pleasant for me to work with Ivy League is everybody bought into it, not just the teachers, but first and foremost, Himal. She was every step of the way involved, and through my experience, when the decision makers are as committed as everybody else, it's a much more pleasant experience. And I think that the result was just an overall, even though Ivy League was fabulous when I walked in, it improved even while I was there. But so anyway, so I get back to quality rated. Quality rated is over and above what the state requires schools to do. The state has pretty stringent regulations that go assess the level of quality and safety and the food that's served. Is it served under sanitary conditions? Are the teachers providing some sort of curricular experience for children? But quality rated goes above and beyond. And Quality Rated uses a tool called the Environment Rating Scale that is an international scale used throughout the world to evaluate infant, toddlers, and 2-year-olds, and then also preschool children aged 3 to 5. We use an early childhood scale, and we evaluate not only the personal care routines, but also, in my opinion, most importantly, the interactions between the teachers and the children, the interactions that the children are able to have with each other, and the activities. Are the activities developmentally appropriate? You know, we want to see children who are actually engaged in meaningful activity or work using materials as opposed to something kind of nebulous or esoteric, like, you know, filling out a worksheet.
Very nice. So it's basically, it's a certification. They're getting a certification that they're above and
Yes,
beyond.
and there is a website, if you're interested to know who is quality rated, which schools are quality rated, you can go and quality rated schools will pop up, and it's just one more stamp of kind of approval. And Ivy League was one of the early adopters, and she did it totally, in my opinion, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, she just wanted to have one more avenue to provide quality for the children.
And does it happen for middle school, or is it just the early care education system?
It is early care, and then Quality Rated also does standalone after-school programs.
Okay.
So, but it wouldn't be a school-age program within a child care environment. It's like, for instance, the Y after-school programs or programs that take place after school. So,
Got it. Go ahead, Sheetal.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a real quick question? So do you have any scores for like special needs kids, like specific to them? Like, are there, so the reason why I ask is because a lot of times parents will ask me, is this a good school for my child if this child has special needs?
no, they wouldn't be able to tell
Based on
the quality rating.
Okay.
But quality rated does evaluate the experience for children with special needs.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
nice. So Katie, go on. Yes.
I think what quality rated does is probably if you have a child with special needs, then it probably, if you're a parent with a child with special needs, if you look for a quality rated center, you can probably be assured that you are probably getting a teacher who is more trained, who is above and beyond. So in that sense it does, but specifically does it guarantee a teacher who has experience in special needs? Probably not, but a teacher with a lot of experience, yes. So, yeah.
Okay.
In that sense it does. Am I right, Miri?
Sounds good. So Katie, reading your bio, I see that you have worked in Title IV schools, and I think if we don't discuss the reality out there and we show everything is rosy, then we are not doing justice for anyone. So we know there are parents who have to pay out of pocket for the cost of the early child daycare and school care. And we know sometimes they're working 2 or 3 jobs. Sometimes we know they're single parents with 2 or 3 kids. What was it that you came out of working with the Title IV schools, and what can be done better than those in this room today?
I think the hardest thing was I found that a lot of those parents, for when their children were young, had to stay home during the day, so they couldn't get a 9-to-5 job, so they were working at night. And so we kind of talked about that, the family time. So those students didn't have a family life at home. They were taking care of themselves at night. They were getting themselves up to get the bus in the morning. So they lost a lot of that interaction with the family for that early foundation. And so they struggled with connections later in their high school career. they did become more independent because of that, but overall they lacked that bonding with their parents because a lot of times they both would work nights and they'd be at home with an older sibling. So the cost of childcare made it hard for them to leave their children during the day.
If you had to advocate for more family time for those families, what would you advocate for? If you had an option to speak in front of the decision makers, was there anything that stuck with you and say, hey, I want to change this and this is what I can do about changing, or did you say, well, this is just part of life, each one has to deal with their own?
Well, I think the role that I was able to take on as being the teacher is to love them and provide that support at school and give them that relationship that they might be missing at home. A lot of times the students would just come and talk, and they wouldn't talk about school, they would just talk about everything else that was up there. So, just kind of having maybe the schools that these students are going to have that strong relationship with students, so the quality teachers that they can have, in those schools. So getting better teachers, better qualified teachers teaching at those schools will help the relationships that students have moving forward and kind of supplemental some of the loss that they might experience at home.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I add on a little bit? I think better pay for teachers, just in general. All teachers, I mean, these teachers just do so much, if you think about it. Our kids are with them almost like 8-10 hours a day, and they deserve a better pay. For decision makers, that is something we really need to advocate for.
Very nice. So, Maria, the question for you is, in the past 2 decades, in the past 2 decades, have you seen the use of the playground lesson or by the kids? Because they are now more into the screen time, video games, and cell phones and computers.
Yes, I see it a lot more with the older children, even my own kids. Unfortunately, that's become more and more so. We do make sure that they're out there doing other activities, and we make sure they at least walk the dog, do some chores, throw the ball around. We don't want them to be on the screen all the time, but the older ones do. I see that more. Absolutely. With the young children, I still see, in my setting at school, we do go outside twice a day, and I make sure we do. I mean, it's fun for them. It just gives them an outlet. They're inside all day. I think it's a great thing, fresh air, and just playing outside, just being outdoors is a positive thing. It's good. We haven't changed that, so twice a day we go out unless it's cold or really hot. So that hasn't changed. But with the older kids, I do see it, definitely.
Okay.
And in Ivy League, we have had a no TV policy for 13 years now? Yeah. So we have no television in school. So that definitely goes a long way in actually children knowing to live without those screens and knowing that they can go 8 hours at a stretch and have no TV. So
Great. So, Lauren, might be over the course of your teaching, you might have seen bullying incidents, even sometimes with parents as well. But when and how should the school intervene such bullying incidents? Either do you do increased awareness beforehand, or once it's there, how do you tackle such bullying incidents? Do you teach the kids or the parents, or how is it tackled? Or do you even see bullying in these ages? That's what I want to ask.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I like to work on it. I mean, think about
Do you
feelings.
please check if your mic is on? Okay.
Screen.
Okay.
Feelings and emotions. We talk about that at the beginning of the year and how what we do affects other people, how it makes them feel. Right now, I have a random acts of kindness activity going on in the classroom, and they're supposed to tell us when someone else does something nice for them. But yes, they do. I don't like the word bullying at this
Okay.
age.
Do you have another
Because-
word for that for the kids?
Well, it's just being nice to your
Being
friends
nice,
and
okay.
treating them like you want them to, treat you. They can take bullying, that word, and use it what I wouldn't say appropriately. Even if someone is not bullying them, what would be traditional bullying, but they ran into him on the playground and they go home and say, Susie's bullying me on the playground. She knocked me down. Well, Susie has no clue that she even ran into someone. She was too busy on her way to see the leaf fall from the tree or something crazy. And so you have to kind of work around. You teach the concept maybe, but not always wording it like that.
Lauren has a chart in her class that they go over every day where they talk about being kind to friends and not getting into acts where that would hurt another friend. That's the word. Not hurt your friends, because we want to work together, live together. So she goes over them. The kids know it. The first 2 weeks that Lauren spends in the classroom when she welcomes the children in for the school year, she's talking about these exact things. The first 2 weeks are spent just teaching them how to walk around the classroom, how to show that you're present. What do you say? What do you not say? And so once the children get into that routine, after 2 weeks, believe it or not, they're 4 years old, but they can do it. They know. And many times you will have children who are tattletales, mostly the girls. They will come and always let you know. So they will come and tell the teacher if somebody else is doing something wrong. So we'd never stick to that. And I think the whole basis, Lauren, that she runs her classroom is the anti-bullying trend that runs in the classroom.
Nice.
So that's there. That's present each and every minute of the day. Are you nice to your friends? Are you doing this? So I think, it's a very basic concept.
Sure. Okay. So, Sheetal, we have like 10 more minutes, and the agenda is just a few, 2 or 3 more questions, and then we want to hear final closing comments from each one of you, a few seconds, and then we can just quickly go grab chai, or you can have your snacks, and then we come back in 5 minutes, 5 after 5, with kids. So it's the holiday season. We want to hear from the kids themselves, and I haven't prepared the questions for them. I thought I'm smarter than them. Just kidding. Sometimes, most of the time, I learn. Yeah, exactly. So we're just going to ask if you all are interested in asking. I think they say the truth as it is, and that's what we lack as we grow up. But tell me, what are the psychological problems that you encounter in this age group, most of the psychological problems, and where do they arise from? Can it be prevented beforehand? And how can actually the parents grow up?
Okay, that third question. Okay, so as I said, like psychological problems are neurobehavioral, meaning that's how your brain is wired. And so you can be predisposed to a certain condition. So be it anxiety, depression, autism, any kind of language delay. It could be because someone in your family had it may be undiagnosed because at the time there was no awareness. So that's the first one. But then there is also how kids learn. So you can be born with a genetic predisposition, and then you can lessen the impact of that genetic predisposition by the way you parent the child. And so the environment really makes a huge impact. So the more you talk to the child, the more you interact with the child, how you model behaviors, how you model your emotional regulation. Parents ask me, can I cry in front of my child? of course, let them know how you are regulating your emotions, or if you're having a bad day, share that with them, because they need to know. And it has to be developmentally appropriate, but they really need to know. Even like a really young kid, I would say, 12, 18 months, just to have a conversation. I'm sure, my kids have grown up to just listening to all these stories. They just get that. And that's what they learn. That's the language that they get. The other day, my younger daughter was saying, oh, I have, my worry brain is talking now. I said, what do you mean? And then she tells me she's worried about a presentation that's coming up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I think it is genetics and the nurture part of it, the environment. So going back to how can adults grow up, can you explain that a little more?
So sometimes we see that's how I want to raise my child, or the husband goes, no, I don't want him to do that, or sometimes there's the serious impact that's going on, might be a divorce talk or domestic violence, or in some families, which is true, which we don't talk about, these taboo subjects, child sexual abuse. So how are these impacting children? And many parents don't even know it's happening within their house. So how are these some of the cases do you see rarely, or are these something that you are the kids able to take in what's going on in the house and able to express it out, or do they project out in a
Right.
detrimental way in schools?
All of those. I would say all of those, because there could be some kids who just don't share information with their parents, and so this kid could be the kid who is really quiet, and the mom thinks that, oh, this is not impacting my child because he doesn't talk, so he doesn't understand anything. He is taking in everything. They're like sponges. They are absorbing every single thing. And so I would talk to the child if there is any kind of like domestic violence. Like, say, for example, there is a husband or a woman who's abusing the husband. It could be either ways. I would talk to the child and say, I did not like that, and I'm going to do something about it, or something has to happen where the child is shown that, you know what, this is not the right behavior. Because this child could go into, and there is research on this, is this could be a perpetrator when this kid grows up. And so we need to do something from now in terms of the domestic violence, in terms of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse, there is lots of research showing that there is, the perpetrators are usually people who you know. So it could happen within the family. You can't just dismiss if something happens. If a child has had any kind of negative experience with a family member, don't dismiss it. Maybe you don't have a solution to it right then, but talk to somebody, talk to a person who you trust, and do something about it, because you want to tell the child that you are their advocate, and they should be able to trust you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
In cases of child sexual abuse, I can understand. Okay, those are a little bit more straightforward. But in a case of, say, domestic violence, okay, or if there is a parent that has mental health issues, it's a very overwhelming factor, okay? The parent themselves are not able to identify that there is a problem, okay? So the parent is not going to be in a position to help the child. Then typically it is up to us as caregivers, teachers, consultants, or the school, what do they call them, Suhani? Social worker. So it's usually those are the people that will see those warning signs and they will say something about it. So as a parent, I'm not sure how much as a parent themselves can help. Okay, in those kind of situations is what I think. Am I right?
So your question is if the
Am I right?
parents can help in that, yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I think
Because I wanted to bring that out, because it's very easy to say that a parent can get involved and say, hey, look what your dad is doing, he's hitting me and that's wrong. But
Right.
that's not usually the case. Because
Right.
usually if you're, if there is a domestic violence situation, you know, the person who's a victim is usually made to feel guilty about it. And made to feel that they're wrong, and which is the
Exactly.
reason why they're deserving of that punishment.
Exactly.
So then it's usually, and the children are usually absorbing this situation, and those are slightly more extreme cases, correct? And usually those things are identified by the teachers or the social workers, and usually it's the teachers in the classroom that see it the first, and
Right.
then they refer it over to,
Absolutely. To a
professionals like
psychologist
you.
or yes. And not a lot of schools will refer to a psychologist or to consultants just because I think teachers feel a little hesitant to say that, this is a problem. Like they are very hesitant to bring it up because it's a taboo, especially for parents from diverse backgrounds. That is definitely a taboo.
So it can. So basically, when I brought up those impacts, I meant to say any negative thing that's going on in the house does impact a child, and what resources can one of the parents look forward to? Is there a website, or do they come to you guys, or till even before? What I'm trying to say is, can we prevent?
Yes.
Because then you're just letting it go, and the child develops into negative perceived
Absolutely.
behavior
Yes.
later.
Yeah. So CDC, Centers for Disease Control, has a great website where you can look up like all different milestones for your child. There's also NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness. It has lots of resources on depression, anxiety for adults. And then there is also Child Mind Institute, which talks about a lot of like childhood difficulties and how you can, lots of like strategies for parents to follow on. So which is a great thing, because I mean, as a parent, before going to someone, I would rather do my research and kind of think about, is this something that I want to go get help?
Awesome.
You
Thank
know what? In fact, going back to Mary, I think what Mary has done, and I should thank her, is she's exposed me to this because of quality care. Quality care, one aspect, one of the standards of quality care is community resources, and how you provide your parents with resources for where they can go to get help for various different items. And one of the standards, am I right, Miss Mary, is about getting those community resources so we can get to those websites. So now quality care, one of the aspects of quality care is for me to have those resources ready for parents, so when they come in and they say, hey, this is happening in my house, and then you kind of tell them, hey, there is this resource that you can go to. And so now quality care is making sure, that's what increased quality care is all about, is to be able to go above and beyond and to keep the child at the center focus and to do whatever it is that you can from all different angles, whether it comes to making them eat peas and carrots, or whether it is making them do math, or whether it is making them work in a social piece, or whether it is even helping parents to get those resources in order to be able to help the child.
Right. So what I like about that is what you're saying is building that trust between parents and teachers. That's a very important thing. I grew up in India, and our teachers were like on a pedestal, and my mom never wanted to go see my teacher because, it could be punitive. So that, I think this goes exactly against what I've been raised in. It's that trust that you want to build, just like how you would build with your pediatrician, with your PCP, or your psychologist. That's exactly how you want to build with your teacher, because you're seeing them on a daily basis, and they're seeing your child on a daily basis. So they will be your first persons to get that advice or consultation from.
That's a great
Can
point.
I make a comment real quick?
Yes.
I think I heard this from someone recently that if you play with like your students or your child and you just imaginatively play with them or dramatic play with them, you're going to find out so many things, and it's going to give you insight into what's happening at home. So like if you're concerned that your child is going through something, like play with them. Like sometimes I don't, my daughter, she loves baby dolls. So from the time she was like 15 months, I could see what was happening in your classroom, and I loved it because she would get a pillow from the couch and she would take her baby and she would lay it on the pillow and pat and rub her back, and I could see how she was being treated at school through the way she was playing. So even, you know, getting a dollhouse out or action figures and like playing with your child, it will show you what is happening at school and vice versa. So like as a teacher, this is really hard for me, especially in second grade, but I try to, when we have like indoor recess and they have all their little toys out that they brought from home, I go and I ask them like about their toys, and they tell me all these stories about their house. And so like you can see what's happening in a child's life from school when you're at home as a parent, and as a teacher you can see what their home life is like through their play because they mimic everything.
Absolutely. Thank you. So because of the interest of time, let's do a 15-second closing comment from each one of you, and then head to go get chai.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about listening, being involved with your child whenever possible. Just listen. They have a voice, even if they can't speak, like Tiffany just said, playing, other aspects will come out. Just listen and be there for them. That is the most important thing for their education. Be there and let them be an individual.
Thank you, Ms. Dana. Anu?
So, yeah, this is the continuation of what everyone just spoke, that you go down to their level, kneel if you have to, and understand, go to their world and understand what they are actually going through. That's a very important thing. That involves a lot of time that you need to give them. And if you have to put them in a child care, and if that is necessary, yes, because you have to support you have to take the burden off of your spouse's shoulder as well. That's needed sometimes. So at that same time, you have to give the time accordingly and manage it and take them out, take them to library and storytelling. So all that is needed in a child's growth, especially for 1 to 10 years. I believe that is very important.
Thank you. Mary?
I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'd
you,
like to
Mary.
thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mary.
And thank you all for coming. I think it was great, and it's been very enjoyable for me. I hope it has for you all as well.
And we learned a lot about quality rated, so thank you for your contribution as well. Sheetal?
All right, so I would say go with your gut, your parents' gut. That's a great one. Start there, and don't go with your friend's experience. Go with your own experience and the people, the experts who are surrounding you. You can fall back on your friend for some advice, but you are the one who's the decision maker. And I look forward to lots of questions because we have been doing all the talking, so I would love for you guys to interact with us.
Go ahead. Sorry. Katie.
I completely agree with what you said, and let them be individuals. Love them for who they are and appreciate what they are and who they are, and let them have those opinions and individuality, because it's going to be great whatever they do.
Great. Thank you, Katie.
I think we need to have part two. Because I think there is a lot more to be discussed, in my opinion. And, we need to have I think part two should be about special needs, teachers' challenges, teachers' perspective on children with special needs and what the resources are available for them. Really a focus on resources that are available to parents, to teachers, to the community, to every one of us.
Awesome. Great job. Continuation action step.
Yes, this is for parents. Just when you bring your children in, just communicate with the teachers as much as possible. tell us about your child, their likes and dislikes, and that way we can help them more. So that the more we know, the more we can help them. So.
Thank you, Maria.
I think every child is given a gift and a purpose here in the world. So I think it's really important to show them that they are worthy of our attention. So just keeping that in mind in the classroom and at home, that every child loves spending time with you.
Lauren?
Kind of took the words out of my mouth. It's not just moms. I want dads too. They need both of you. Spend time with you. One can't be the disciplinarian and one the fun one. They need both of you. And since I'm a literacy person, I'm going to say read to your child, please. Vocabulary. It's such a big help.
And also the newsletters.
Yeah, read those newsletters I sent home too.
Sure.
You know, there is one thing I want to say, and it's about Tiffany. There's something she said, I don't think she's aware that I even remember her saying this. She once was holding Gracie, and she told me, she said, you know, baby Jesus is in her. And that is something that I want all of us parents to remember, is that there is God in your child. And respect that, love that, and treasure it.
Very well said, Hemal. We are willing to take one or two questions, but please know that during the break as well, the panelists are going to be here just in case. I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure the kids are not waiting too long out and going to be tired. So, but definitely there is chickpeas outside. It's an Indian snack, very healthy. It's non-fried. It's with sort of a vegetable, I think. It's grain. And you have chai, which is, tea, basically. So before we go to that, any questions you have specific for the panelists? Go ahead, Kirk. Thanks, Trey.
It's kind of a short one. It's primary for Katie, is it?
Katie.
Yeah. So you basically are at the high school level, AP?
Yes.
And I spent 35 years in corporate before I retired, and one of the problems I saw coming through that human resource there was problem-solving skills. Academic success, but no problem-solving skills. So I'd like you kind of to address that.
I do think our curriculum is starting to change because there's a noticeable, we notice that. We know that that's a problem. So I think a lot of teachers and classrooms are changing towards having more almost project-based learning and working working on groups, because we realize that in the real world that they're not going to go out there and do worksheets and do this and that. They're going to be working together and coming up with problems or solutions to the problems. So I think that's definitely heading in the right direction across all of our higher level education for sure.
Very nice. Any more? Go ahead, Uncle G.
I think this team should discuss about indiscipline. Where do we start, how we do with the kids, who should do it. That part is still missing. I'm listening a couple of things here and there. But the major problem is a discipline. And
Discipline.
the university system and all that, I've taught 40 years, but the most big part is the discipline coming from lower part of the classes. So let's
Sure.
see if team have to do what to do with the discipline with these kids.
Sure. So this is the one last question we're going to take. Anyone wants to take up on the discipline for how do we discipline a child? I know we sort of incorporated it in between for 1 to 10-year-old.
And so,
Is it on?
discipline.
Yes.
Hello? Yeah. So discipline can be so many things for different age groups, right? Discipline can be different for different parents, could be different for different cultures. And so I would say now it is going into more positive parenting, like positive behavior supports, because the research shows that punishments don't work if you're teaching a skill. And so it has to be where the child is earning some kind of praise, some kind of rewards for doing the right thing. If the child engages in any kind of misbehaviors, doesn't get the reward, and that in itself is a punishment. And so that is how the schools are doing it now, and that's how what is shown to work with a lot of these kids.
I
Very
think
nice.
to add to that, the reward part of it, we spoke about screen time. Screen time could be used as a little bit of a reward when they do some kind of chores at home, like folding your clothes, or if they follow some norms, they get a reward of screen time. So you don't have to be a helicopter parent, they say, with strict rules. It could turn out to be disciplining the children. So I feel that so.
And one last thing that I'm going to add, can I just add real quick, is a lot of times from parents I get this is, why do they need praise? Why do they need a reward? And I mean, we're not teaching them, like, that's not bribing. That, in fact, we're helping them to be in the real world. If we work, we get paid. That's a reward. That's something, that's a consequence. And so if we are going to teach them to be in the real world, I mean, that is something that we have to get them.
That's an approach we took when our kid was very young, following our doctor's suggestion on, rewarding them when they could do good and then punishing them, or just put them on timeout when they do bad. Now my kid is in a position where he's asking me for everything. I mean, literally, I'm bribing him to do something, and he asked me in return, if you give that to me, only then I'll do this. So it has gone to that extent, and I'm really scared. I don't want to take that approach anymore. It's literally
Absolutely.
bribing. That's what I was trying.
Yes.
That's where I was trying to
And
go.
so rewards, will work for younger kids. They may not work the same way for older kids. And so then you have to think about, why is my child not doing this? This is the intrinsic motivation that my child lacks, and why does he lack that? That's where I would go back to.
I think too, a reward is as simple as telling them how it benefited the group. So like in my classroom, we focus on being respectful, responsible, and relational. So I just tell them, like, you were responsible by having your materials out. That made the class able to go on to the next step. So it's not even necessarily a reward of a material thing or like a sticker on a chart, but just knowing, because I think of that with kindness, like to reward kindness all the time with something, like it's really just more seeing that you're making the area a good place for everyone. So, or like helping with chores, like you helped keep our house clean. You helped us keep our house safe by cleaning up your toys. Like, I don't know, for me, like, I would rather have that be the reward than a physical item or
And-
screen time.
Yes, and a reward works great if you pair it with a praise, with some kind of social reinforcer. My child, like my daughter, my older daughter now says, your reward system is rigged, is what she said one day. And I'm like, yeah, true, because now she's a teenager.
Right, definitely. So thank you so much for being here so long. Don't leave yet. You can have chai and chat for. Sure. We are. No, we're. Sure. So let's do just 5. What about, like, what do you? Just go ahead with the kids. Yeah. Okay. So no break. Okay. Okay. Then so go ahead. Yes. Okay. So Hemal and I are just going to ask fun questions. We want to make sure we have the 2019 and in a very beautiful, realistic, the holiday season. And why don't you all tell their names first?
Yes.
Yeah? So why don't you start with your names first?
Adia. My name is Brooklyn. Maya.
What's your name?
Porco. Dina. Harrison. Lana. Annika. Zoe. Sarni.
Yeah?
Sarni.
Tharani, very nice. Okay, so one of you is going to tell me what is love. Go ahead.
Raise your hands if you want to answer.
Okay.
What's love?
I don't know. When someone like hugs you, you know that it's love.
Who else wants to answer? What's love?
Like if you want to marry somebody, you just marry them. You just marry them. If you want to go tonight, you kiss it.
Oh, okay. So Hemal, do you want to give the hand the mic because I don't want the video to be, yeah. Go ahead, yes. So you have the mic on your hand, speak up.
Love is when you care about someone and think like you care about them and you treat them well.
Nice. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to answer? And if you want, next time when you're answering, share the mic to the other person before Miss Hemal gets to you, okay? Sure, Hemal, next question for the kids.
Well,
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
What's your favorite thing about school? Who wants to answer that?
Ask the question again.
What is your favorite thing about school?
Literacy stations. When you share.
So Hemal, let them have the mic. Yes, take the mic. No, okay, go ahead.
Spending time with friends.
Okay. She has her hand up.
I'm gonna say it.
Okay, just say what you like about your class. What do you have fun in your class?
Coloring.
Coloring,
Fair
nice.
enough.
Okay.
What about you, Harrison? What do you like?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet? Okay, he's figuring it out.
Reading.
Okay. Hold the mic, Harrison. What do you like about school, Brooklyn?
Sharon's caring.
What do you like about school?
Playing.
Playing. Anyone else has questions for the kids?
I have one.
From the audience?
Oh, he has one. Parker
Okay.
wants to talk.
Recess.
Recess. He likes recess.
Well spoken.
Sure. Neha, what's your question for the kids?
If you were on a given day, were so happy, how would you share it with your friends?
You have your mic speak. Go ahead.
I would share it with doing stuff with them and show them that I care about them.
Okay. Go ahead. Harrison, share your mic.
Give the mic to him, Harrison.
That if you're friends with them, you can ask their mom. If their mom is a friend from their mom, you can ask them to go with them.
Very nice.
If you're a friend, you love them and
Tharani, how would you?
And you see them in school. If you're in a class, you can hug them in the class. If you're in a nice, then you see them in your club. You can just hug them.
Aww. That's so cute. Tharani, how would you share your happiness?
Color with someone.
You would color with someone? That's awesome. Another question for the kids?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Hemal.
Who's waiting for Christmas? Okay, so tell me something. How does Santa carry your gift and your gift and your gift and everybody's gift in one?
Bag.
In a bag?
And in a box.
In a box?
How he goes to place, his hat makes him fly and he goes fast.
Aww.
Yes, Parker.
His presents are just in his way.
It's coming. How does Santa get all the toys?
With a bag.
With a bag. Okay, cool.
Actually, with a sack. With a magic sack or bag. Sack. He makes his hat bigger so he can fit.
Okay.
You
don't know. Okay. And does Santa really eat all those cookies?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe.
How many
Maybe.
cookies does Santa eat?
1, 2.
He's got to eat cookies in her house and your house too. So that makes 4 cookies. And milk. How many cookies do you think Santa eats in everybody's house together?
10,000,000,000.
Oh my God. Okay.
Makes sense. What do you think, Parker? How many cookies does Santa eat?
10 billion, billion, million, billion, million, 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 billion, 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 million, million, million.
All right, we get the point. How many cookies does Santa eat?
A lot.
A lot.
Actually, he eats 1.
Aww.
He eats only the cookie that you put on the plate for him, Harrison?
Yep.
Yep, that's the one. What about you?
He eats about 110,000.
110,000.
1,099,500.
1,099,500.
Okay.
1,099,600.
400. 400.
400.
1,000.
Whoa. Okay. So if you had a choice to go to Disneyland or a candy bag, which one would you choose?
Disney.
Go ahead.
Adya.
Adya.
We pick candies around the
Oh my.
Candies from the bag.
Candies in the bag. Cool.
with a box.
Candies from the box, not from the bag.
Okay.
Everybody wants candies. Nobody cares about Disneyland. Yes. What would you have, candy or Disneyland?
Candy.
You?
I would rather live in a box.
What about you, Dina? What would you like?
My favorite is lollipops.
Lollipops, okay.
Well, I would eat them from a sack.
You would eat them from a sack.
I would do both, so you can do the roller coasters and then after that eat candy.
Oh, she wants both.
Both.
Both? Oh, okay.
Yeah, a candy in Disneyland would work.
Yeah.
Right?
I would rather live in a hotel.
You already said? Yeah, it's at Disneyland. You're right. Yes, go ahead.
I would like to know what they'd like to be.
Here.
What would you guys like to be when you grow up?
A doctor.
A doctor.
A teacher.
Like our mom.
I want to be a high school teacher like my mom.
You want to? What do you want to do when you grow up?
I would like to be a mom because everyone's your mom.
Mom?
I would like to be woodsman, so when trees get dead, I'll cut them down.
A woodcutter? A woodsman. Ah. Wow. Really? Oh, wow.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A mermaid.
A mermaid.
Yes, Parker, what would you like to be when you grow up?
A bird.
A what?
A bird?
I would like to be a mom and a rock star.
Yes, what do you want?
I want to be a mermaid.
A mermaid.
I want to be a doctor.
A doctor.
A doctor.
Two doctors now.
I've never ever used a microphone.
You want to use a microphone?
Okay. What's the next question?
What is your most favorite thing to talk about when you have dinner with your family?
Yes. Go ahead. Let's start from Tharani. Yes, here.
My friends.
Your friends? Oh, she likes to talk about her friends. That's so cool.
School.
You like to, oh, wow.
Carrie.
Oh, so sweet. Do you want to pass the mic to her? Yes.
My day and my sister talks about humming.
What do you like to talk about?
Well, I like to say, what is your favorite part of today?
Aww.
He's so cute.
I want to talk about mermaids.
Aww.
Yes, Parker, what would you like to talk about when you go home? You have your own mic.
Minecraft.
Minecraft.
A true boy.
My day.
Your day?
Your
What
day.
about you?
My kittens.
Your kittens. Aww. What would you like to talk about? What do you talk to your mom about?
School.
School. Okay, cool.
Go ahead. Sarah has a question. Go ahead, Sarah.
I want to know, what is your favorite thing about yourself?
Okay, good. That's a good one. What's the best thing about yourself?
Playing. Singing.
Good job.
Sharing.
Aww.
What about you, Parker? What's the best thing about yourself?
Me?
What's the best thing about you?
Playing with Coco.
Playing with Coco. Who's Coco?
My friend.
Oh.
Oh, your friend.
I have a Coco that actually. Oh, she has a dog that's named Stella Bella.
Stella Bella. What about you? What's the best thing about you?
Best thing about me is I'm good at coloring.
Good.
Coloring?
That's a good one.
My sister.
Your sister.
Aww, that's so sweet.
That's a family.
My little brother.
Your little brother. Oh, that's so cute.
Helping my mom.
Huh?
Helping my mom.
Aww,
Helping your
that's
mom.
so sweet. Yeah, she does. She does? Oh,
My
wow.
gosh, these kids are so cute.
Go ahead with the next question.
Do you like spending time with friends or spending time on screen?
On what?
It's on screen, on the computer.
Screen
or-
time or spending with friends? What do you like the most?
Spending with friends.
Good. What about you, Tony? You like
Spending with friends. Spending
What
with
about you,
friends.
Annika? Oh, no, this is Zoe.
Zoe?
What do you like?
Friends.
Friends? Nice.
TV all day.
TV?
Day or night, she added.
TV?
What about you?
Day and night.
Day and night. What about you?
Computer that, well, you could type to your friends on the computer.
So,
Harrison, what about you? You like Friends or you like TV?
TV.
You like Friends or TV?
TV.
oh,
You would tell though because she loves talking too.
I want a microphone.
Yes, here, you can have it. But let Parker talk first. You like Friends or you like TV?
I want to play Minecraft every day and every night.
What about you? You like Friends or you like TV?
I like both.
You like both. Good job. What about
I
you?
like Friends.
You like Friends. Of course. What about you, Adya? You like Friends or you like TV?
TV.
oh.
So I guess we're evenly divided even at this age. I'm surprised.
She don't have a
Good.
microphone.
Another question from the audience.
Suhani, you?
From the audience to the kids. Any questions?
Questions?
Yes, go ahead.
What is your favorite thing about your teacher? What makes a good teacher?
What's the best thing about your teacher, Adya? Lauren?
Miss Lauren.
No, but what do you like about your teacher? What does she do? What do you like when she does something? What is it that you like that she does?
Playing. Mine about playing.
Playing dancing. I thought your teacher has the moves there.
My
I have the mic.
Because my teacher lets us watch TV every day. More than 2 episodes.
What do you like about your teacher?
Wearing glasses.
Wearing glasses. She can see better. I thought it was
Tigers.
No, what do you like about your teacher? What is it about your teacher? You have Miss Suma, you have Miss Parvati, and you have Miss Anita. What do you like when they do?
Coloring.
Coloring,
Okay,
nice.
so you're coloring sheets. What about you, Harrison? What do you like about your teacher?
Coloring.
Coloring again? Cool. What about you?
That my teachers aren't very strict. They're only strict when they need to be.
Good. That's a very good answer. Very good answer, girl.
Being healthy.
Being what?
Healthy.
Healthy.
Wow.
Teaching me.
What do you like that your teacher does?
Teaching me.
Teaching me,
Teaching you.
yes.
Oh, good. What about you, Tarni?
Teaching sign language.
Teaching sign language.
Wow.
That was a good answer. See? There you go.
So we'll make this a final question for you guys. Any question from the audience to the kids? Go ahead, Tracy. Can you have the mic? Come here, come in front. Just take the mic.
So let's say your friend is really sad. What do you do to cheer them up?
Here, Tarni.
Say jokes.
Say jokes.
Help my friend up.
I'm sorry, what did she say?
Help my friend.
Help my friend.
Help your friend, nice.
When someone is bullying you, you have to stop them.
Correct. Good job. That was an Anakin.
When my friends are feeling sad, I ask them if they need help, or I could ask them what do they want to play, and then they suggest them, and I make them feel better.
Oh,
Harrison, what do you do when somebody's
Since Charlotte doesn't like kiss, I would give her a hug.
What do you do?
I like rainbows.
When your friend is sad, what do you do?
I ask them do you want to play with them?
Okay.
Oh,
That's a good
okay.
thing to do. What about you, Parker? What do you do when your friend is sad? Perhaps.
Throw them away in the garbage. And get a new one.
Maybe you
Throw them away in the garbage and get a new one. Parker.
He probably played Minecraft.
Stand
He's a
up.
Minecraft fan. What about you?
Stand up for them.
Oh, that's cute.
Cool.
Helping.
Helping, nice.
What about you? Adya, what would you do if your friend was sad?
Play with.
Play with?
She made one.
Okay.
Oh, so thank you so much.
What would we do? Miss Alicia, what would we do?
Ask if they need a
Shake it off. Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off.
So let's give it up for all the kids. Thank you so much. You all did a great job. So now that we're heading into the holidays, how are you going to wish all of us and yourselves for the holidays?
Happy holidays.